I then pulled away from him to look into his eyes. I had to tell him. It was about him, after all. I was in a dungeon. I was there with Diana.
Diana? Did she try to hurt you?
Not really. No, actually, she was trying to protect me.
From who?
You? James stared, surprised me, but remained silent as I continued. You came in and enthralled me, but it wasn't like you usually do. It was forceful and I didn't want it, but I was under your control and Diana tried to stop you, but you shot her and then you came for me. For some reason, a weight was lifted from my shoulder. It was a terrible dream, but James deserved to know. As I finished recounting the nightmare, James gently moved his hands up and cupped my face in them.
Thank you for telling me, and I'm sorry that you experienced that kind of nightmare. But I swear to you that I will never hurt you.
I let myself become lost in his amber eyes, believing every single word he said. I could feel the love and care in his voice, and his warm hands assured me that he would protect me from harm. I wrapped my arms once again around James and let my head rest on his shoulders as his arms encircled my form. I loved him, he loved me. We would protect and love each other forever. Soon enough, the wedding day had come. I had received many pre-wedding gifts from the guests that couldn't come, but I knew many people would still be at the wedding since James was the Anderson Toy Company CEO. I even got fun texts from Naomi, Susan and Carrie as they tried to tease me with pictures of James in his wedding tuxedo, but I deleted them all without peeking. I didn't want to see him yet. He didn't get to see my wedding dress, so I wanted to wait to see him in his tux. Alas, I had decided to dress alone at the mansion. The girls had offered to help, but I needed time to myself. I had to reflect on the day ahead. I was about to be married. It was insane, and I couldn't stop staring at myself in the mirror, dressed in the wedding dress of my dreams. Is this really happening? I knew the air wouldn't answer me, but I felt myself needing to speak my thoughts aloud. I could hardly believe that I was about to walk out of the house and be someone's wife, James's wife. The thought of us together made me smile and close my eyes. Huh? Hello, who are you? A voice I didn't know sent shivers up and down my spine. I suddenly woke around, hearing the voice echoing in the room. I'm afraid I do not speak whatever the hell you're speaking. What was going on? Why was I hearing voices? This couldn't be happening. I held my head, trying to stop the sounds in case I was dreaming or imagining them. What? Stop! 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 I screamed at the voices, not knowing what they were saying, but wanting them to go away. What I didn't realise was that my scream led some sort of spell that seemed to freeze the air around me. Everything was still and silent. I could feel it, however, that the room around me was frozen in time.
I knew it! I knew it! That girl has demon magic.
No offence, the people just like little imps are just like waiting around like, oh my god, let's spy on this random girl that's gonna get married. Look, she's in a wedding dress. Perfect with Nika swag. She's already in the wedding dress. We could just, Nika will be the next bride. What the?
Then quit talking and let's take her!
Again, I want to know what you guys were doing at the time. You're just running around reading a newspaper?
The Demon Lord will be so pleased.
Ooh. Before I could turn to search for the voices, I felt hands grab hold of my feet and I looked down and lifted my dress. You guessed it. Once again, 2 pairs of hands. Evil-looking hands had taken hold of my ankles and reached through a dark red and purple pentagram, just like last time. I shrieked, trying to pull my legs away, but I couldn't stop them, as they swiftly pulled me into the ground. I was pulled deeper into the darkness. I was no longer in my room. I was being dragged through a dark void, one that I could not escape. I reached out and clawed at the dark, trying to find something to grab onto. I tried to pull my legs away from the hands that were holding them, but I couldn't pull free. What was going on? Why was this happening? Someone help me! As if someone had heard my screams, I suddenly felt the hands let go and disappear, leaving me to float in the darkness they left me in. I shut my eyes. Please let this be a dream. Please let this be a dream. I finally felt the surface under my feet and I collapsed onto it. My body curled in on itself from the experience I had. I didn't dare tear my eyes away from my lap, but not ready to get up just yet. The voice I heard, however, made my heart stop.
You! What are you doing here?
Diana, it's good to see you, dear. I looked up, finally having the courage to take in my surroundings. My heart stopped beating for a moment, seizing my chest. I looked up to see 5 figures, strangers, monsters, beings that I didn't recognise. They all looked down at me in surprise if I dropped in at a very bad time. One man looked like an orc from a fantasy game without the tusks. He had a broken horn and a very frightening aura around him as he stared at me. The other man was lanky in comparison, more human-like, but I could feel power emanating from him regardless. One of the women who was staring at me had rabbit ears. Rabbit ears. They twitched on top of her head as she looked up at me and gripped her staff. She seemed harmless, yet she had animal ears. One creature that I couldn't discern the sex of seemed more excited to see me than surprised. What freaked me out about them was that they had wings sticking out from their back, and they were floating. The last woman, however, set off an alarm bell in my head as I looked at her surprised face, her hair, her eyes. Diana? As she stared, the woman turned her body towards me in recognition to the name I called her. It was her.
What are you doing here?
Diana walked towards me and stared down at me. It was odd. She didn't look like a human, yet I wasn't afraid of her demon form. As it towered over me, I was more in shock as to what was going on. Before Diana could speak further, most likely to repeat herself, a figure stepped up and bowed to her kneeling beside me.
My lady, please forgive me. I felt something moving between our worlds and assumed the Demon Lord was to blame, so I intercepted his summoning of this human.
You? So I wasn't the only one who felt the change in the air.
Diana stared at the man kneeling beside me as I kept my eyes at her. She turned her gaze back to me and I gulped silently. What was she going to do with me? This all felt wrong. I was about to be married. I was about to live my happily ever after with the man I loved. Now I was in a place I didn't know with Diana and a bunch of other creatures I didn't recognize. My instincts was to stay still. I couldn't move. My mind was empty of emotions except for fear. Why was this happening? Where was I? Why was Diana here? Diana stared down at me before sighing and kneeling down to my level as she settled on her knee. I leaned away from her, unsure what she'd do. Was she going to kiss me again and take my energy? Knowing her, maybe.
Can you tell me what happened?
I didn't want to speak. I felt no courage, too. My mind was so wrapped around this chaos that I felt nothing but fear and anxiousness. This couldn't have been happening. I was dreaming.
Is she okay?
I don't think so.
This is a waste of our time. Just kill her or something.
Yes, because that's a smart thing to do. Kill someone who is clearly traumatized and has done nothing to deserve death. Brilliant idea. Bravo.
I like Shadow. Diana continued to stare at me, waiting for an answer. Why didn't she cast a spell on me? She didn't cast a spell on me, nor did she attack me. She continued to wait and stare. Slowly my mind began to sink into the situation. Diana was willing to listen, and she was willing to help. There was another question, but at first I had to answer her. My voice didn't want to answer still, so I forced myself to nod, wanting to answer her somehow. Diana smiled softly, which conflicted with my memories of her. She never smiled like that, yet she was now. Diana held out her hand, asking me to take it.
Can you stand?
I nodded again and took her hand, standing up at last. I looked around at the other beings in the room. They all kept their gaze to me, unsure of what I would do or say. Diana, however, led the conversation. Remember, people, don't move. They're not hostile when you don't move.
First, can you tell me what happened to you?
I took a breath, recounting everything that happened, but obviously leaving out the fact about the nightmare because, boy, that would explain a lot of things if I just talked about that. But anyway, I was about to go to church, be married, and then I was attacked by this darkness, and a couple of hands grabbed my legs and pulled me into it, and then I fell here.
A shadow summoning?
Mm-hmm. Diana turned to one of the beings, the lanky man, and glared.
One of yours couldn't have.
On my honor, it wasn't any of mine. We have nothing to gain from kidnapping a human. Nor do we know who this woman is, anyhow.
My lady, if I may, I clearly remember hearing imp demons in the void along with her. It must have been the Demon Lord's henchmen.
Those damnable creatures. That explains it.
Diana crossed her arms and looked to me again.
Well, dear, it seems that you were to be either a new harem girl for the Demon Lord to ravish, or bait for the boys to return to their father's side. Either way, I doubt you would have lived long had the Demon Lord gotten his hands on you.
A violent shiver ran up my spine. Was it true? I would have died.
Wait a minute. This girl knows about the Demon Lord's heirs?
Yes. Hilariously enough, she was set to marry one of them, as you can see from her garb.
As Diana motioned towards my dress, I realised how vulnerable I was, and I felt extremely self-conscious. I wrapped my arms around myself as Diana left her to sigh.
Well, since you do not belong here, the obvious thing to do is to send you home.
I couldn't help but stare wide-eyed at Diana. She was really going to send me home? Really? I couldn't believe my ears. You will really send me back?
Of course. It should be easy to do once everything is in order. It'll be like you never left the human world.
Wait, like I never left the human world? What do you mean by never left the human world? Diana stared before chuckling softly and gesturing to the room and the beings within.
Dear, do you not realize where you are? You are in the demon world.
Yep. You'd think my character would have realised that when she saw Diana, but no.